Presiding Officer, emergency restrictions and protections were legislated for quickly when required during the pandemic. They were necessary and will have saved and protected lives. However, some may feel that these types of provisions should only ever be temporary and for emergencies. Whilst Scottish ministers have already removed many of the temporary measures that supported our country's response to the pandemic, what assurances can the First Minister give those measures that are being kept are those that have delivered clear benefits and therefore merit being extended in the long term?
First Minister.
That's an important point. It's an assurance that we will give at every stage of the progress of this legislation through Parliament. I think an important assurance to give right now is that this is not emergency legislation. This is legislation that will be subject to full and normal and proper scrutiny of Parliament. We have and will remove any of the emergency measures that rightly should be temporary and are not needed anymore. But it is also the case that some of the measures that were introduced on a temporary basis have proved to be worthwhile for the longer term. And as I said earlier on, will bring public health protections in legislation more into line with those that have been in place in England and Wales for some time. I gave an example earlier on of the greater protection for private sector tenants that this will give. It also allows us, for example, to continue to allow for remote registration of deaths and births, for example. So these are the kind of, I think, common sense measures, but we will continue to ensure that Parliament is fully consulted and that we continue to seek the right balance on this. Presiding Officer, these are important issues and I think it's important everybody treats them seriously and responsibly, and I'm sure most people, if not all people across this chamber, will do so.
Thank you. That concludes the First Minister's statement. COVID-19 update. There will be a brief pause before the next item.